Resume recording. So one thing I'm going to do now is tell y'all a little bit about the AI, which is we learned probably 20 or 30 years ago that getting AI to read or actually to compose and read natural language aloud, in order to compose and write in natural language, was pretty easy. Getting the AI to comprehend what was said, in other words, understand the words that were said, was very hard, which just sounds crazy to a human being, because most humans have a harder time figuring out what to say than they have understanding what's being said. But with AI, it's actually the opposite. And so this this robot love that's reading the text and doing such a great job of it, to an AI guy like me, is totally not surprising. And that same AI that you might want to have produce a transcript of a YouTube file, where it's trying to understand it's trying to understand the words that were said so that it can write the transcript. You've seen the transcripts, I'm sure, on YouTube, and they're lousy. And because that's a really hard problem to get the comprehension to work right. Now it's getting really much better than it used to be, but it's just a property of the funny, odd property of the AI. So in this particular case, this is an article I wrote probably on the order of, let's see, yeah, September the 13th, 2020. And the one thing that I'd like to do before I do the trial basically says that I'm claiming that Charlie Chaplin's dictator speech about Hitler and his lies holds for Trump. In other words, that's my claim. And I'm saying that's true. Okay. And so to sort of convince you, I think it's only needed to listen to Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator speech. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see what I'm holding up right now, Natasha?
No, I don't see. I see okay, now I do. It's the book.
Yeah, so this is the movie, The Great Dictator.
Okay.
And I bought this movie probably 8, 10 years ago for $4 or whatever it was on Amazon. But this is the 1940 movie, before they had the ability to fake movies.
Oh, okay.
So, and then the Great Dictator speech that you're seeing is on this movie. And so I believe that this is actually Chaplin's original Great Dictator speech. And
Oh,
it's not
okay.
faked. Okay. So that's one of my arguments here that I'm making. But what I want to do is play uh, I want to play his speech, which is about 4 or 5 minutes. And I'm just going to play the Robot Love reading my article, and it'll turn into his speech. I'm sort of curious, has anybody not heard his speech yet?
Are you talking
Or,
about on the YouTube video or in
yeah,
general?
on the YouTube video.
I watched it.
So what I'm going to do is play it again, but now in the context of me claiming that this is Trump. Okay, that he's describing Trump. And the only thing you need to know, and I'll sort of explain this, is Charlie Chaplin historically, he left Hollywood when the talkies began, probably in the 20s. And he went back to Europe. He's a British guy. He had a British accent, and they didn't want an American, somebody that everybody thought was an American with a British accent. So he made no talkies. And his first talkie movie was when he came back in 1939 to make The Great Dictator, which was the first movie and the only movie where he talked. The he in the movie, so this was the only movie he ever made that he talked, and this was the second best attended movie in 1940 after Gone with the Wind. So a lot of people watched this movie. It was very popular. The most people were confused because they didn't understand that what was going on was Chaplin not only wrote every word in this movie, he wrote the entire script, he directed the movie, and he produced the movie. And his wife plays the person who's laying in the field in his speech. That's his real wife. And he flew to Hollywood to make the movie before World War II to try to stop World War II, and he couldn't do it. So the theme of the movie, the plot of the movie is that he was a poor Jewish guy in a Jewish community, and Hitler took over. The Hitler of the time took over, and the Hitler was looking for somebody who looked like him so that he wouldn't get killed. So he hired he went out to find somebody that looked exactly like him, and that he would send into situations that somebody would murder him, so that the real Hitler wouldn't get killed. And so they found this doppelganger, which in this movie is distinguished. You can tell when the doppelganger is there versus the real Hitler is there, because the doppelganger has a gray streak in his forehead, in his forelock, and the real Hitler does not. So when you first see the movie, you don't really know that's happening. And then you kind of have to have that explained to you. So this is one of these movies you kind of have to see more than once before you really get how great of a movie this is. But I wanted to explain that up front, that the doppelganger is Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin is obviously, because the Hitler was looking for a doppelganger, Charlie Chaplin is both the doppelganger, the poor Jewish guy, and the real Hitler, who was not Jewish at all. Okay.
Oh wow.
And so this is
Chaplin plays two roles: the double-cross dictator and his look-alike.
Y'all can hear this, right?
The doppelganger has a gray streak in his forelock. "They lie" was spoken by the doppelganger in his famous speech to all the dictators enslaved people. But the doppelganger wasn't lying until he did. Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf begins pointing out that step 1, get elected. Amazon.com. He did not say the rest of his steps. Step, stay elected long enough to take all control. Step 3, you are the great dictator. Step 4, repeat on other countries. And, he points out in Mein Kampf, if you read carefully with 20/20th hindsight, to get elected the first time or two, you have to be loved by the people. So lie. Lie with your very best dictator lies. The most stunning thing about Mein Kampf is that the first part of the book he plainly tells you what he is going to do from prison, and he does it. He was telling the truth. He was not lying about what he said he was going to do. The lie in his truth, the deceit, was that he was lying about his motivation. He was lying about most all the things he said to get elected and stay elected until fair elections were stopped forever. Business was great. Everyone was employed. Liberty was lost and gone, and fear alone could drive all elections and his plans going forward to conquer the world with the help of other dictators. So what is a dictator's lie? Charlie Chaplin told us he wrote the words for the doppelganger and made the movie. In his speech, the doppelganger spoke the truth. He revealed the evil and true motivations of the dictator, what happened at the end of his speech to all of the dictator's enslaved people before him. They believed the doppelganger was indeed the Great Dictator, and the Great Dictator was indeed just continuing to tell them the truth, as he always had. The doppelganger could not tell the truth to the masses without them approving his benevolent dictatorship. Liberty, the agency of the people to think for themselves.
In other words, the doppelganger, after his speech, everybody clapped. Everybody thought it was a great speech. They thought it was really the dictator. And the doppelganger didn't realize that what he had done was he just gave the dictator more power. In other words, he did the opposite of what he was trying to do.
Was lost to the agency of the dictator. But there was a thin ray of hope. One girl lay crying in a field, heard what the doppelganger said, that she could get her liberty back. She looked up willing to bravely, hopefully, get her liberty back.
And that girl in the field you'll see is his wife, his real wife, Chaplin's real wife.
Fortunately, that didn't happen without World War II. Chaplin failed to change the course of history. Or maybe not. I know from my parents, Chaplin's speech steeled the nerves of many Americans and British. This movie was second only to Gone with the Wind in that time. Watch the doppelganger's entire speech and see the dictator's lie work its magic deceit. Schultz, who says it's our only hope, is the anti-Trumper who was caught but shows up. The Stephen Miller character is saying pardoned, I suppose.
So the Stephen Miller would now be Elon, by the way.
Crossed. The doppelganger was double-crossed. The dictator's lie came out of his own, perfectly truthful, mouth.
Here we go.
What's happened to him? He looks strange.
And what Schultz doing here?
Pardoned, I suppose.
Schultz in the movie was trying to stop the dictator, and he failed.
His Excellency, Herr Garbage, Secretary of the Interior, Minister of Propaganda.
Corona veniat dilectis. Victory shall come to the worthy. Today, democracy, liberty, and equality are words to fool the people. No nation can progress with such ideas. They stand in the way of action. Therefore, we frankly abolish them. In the future, each man will serve the interest of the state with absolute obedience. Let him who refuses beware. The rights of citizenship will be taken away from all Jews and other non-Aryans. They are inferior, and therefore enemies of the state. It is the duty of all true Aryans to hate and despise them. Henceforth, this nation is annexed to the Tomanian Empire, and the people of this nation will obey the laws bestowed upon us by our great leader, the dictator of Tomania, the conqueror of Austerlitz, the future emperor of the world.
You must speak. I can't. You must. It's our only hope. Hope.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world, a decent world, that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill their promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance. Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
That's him realizing he made a mistake.
George Washington, 150 years before, knew this could happen to us. Here is proof. Read carefully. George Washington's.
So that's the part of it that I'm trying here. Was everybody able to hear that?
Yeah, I heard it okay.
My argument is that Trump projects. He actually says the opposite. He says he says things that he says other people are doing that he's in fact doing, and he tells lies about things that everybody wants to hear. And so this is I think in a variety of ways, the Great Dictator speech just nails Trump. And also shows you that if they knew this in 1940, and then in the rest of the paper, I say, this is exactly the theme the main theme of George Washington's farewell address to us. He said the same thing can happen if we don't, if we listen to liars, people who are known factual liars. So I said, is it the truth? And I said, yes. Is it the whole truth? Yeah. And I kind of showed you I had the film to make sure that this was not a fake, and it's not a fake, and you can buy the film on Amazon. Is it nothing but the truth? I said, yes. What's the deceit? I said, there's no deceit. This article just simply tells the truth. Is the deceit or truth intended? I said, yes, it's intended. I wrote the dadgum thing, the article. I intended it to be true. What's the motivation behind the truth or the lie? And my argument is, I wrote it. Was to be informative. When I came across this thing originally, I couldn't believe it, and this was back in 2018. How good this speech was. What's the social acceptability of the truth or lie? I believe that the movie is telling the truth, and it's totally acceptable. What label will improve it? I think I said here the label should be "This is the truth." Now, what I want to do is go over the trying to figure out how to do this. I will show y'all the let me see if I can do this, see what happens. Okay. So what I want to get is from each juror, I'd like to get like a 20 or 30-second summary of your verdict, and particularly if you disagree with anything with my assertion. Love to hear it. So juror one.
Yes, I am here. And I fully agree with what you are saying, that the dictators do lie, and they have the power to change whatever they want to and enforce what they believe onto the people. And that has been shown in history, all the way dating back to I don't even know when, but
so the first written descriptions that we have is Plato in the Republic, and he describes this in detail. Believe it or not, 2000 BC, was it 1000 BC, something like that. This crazy.
That's a very long ago.
Yeah, so this has been known a long time.
Yeah, that's my whole take on it. I do agree with you.
So juror two.
Yes, I also agree with you. I think, can I start with the double gang?
Yeah.
I think the doppelganger, where the doppelganger failed is when he stated that as long as men die, liberty will never perish, without addressing the idea of what liberty was to the mind of the dictator's followers.
That's interesting.
Therefore, I think more historical occurrences of dictators and the ramifications of nations ruled by dictators need to be discussed in public platforms, particularly how fast it goes from promises for a better future to how people end up perishing and the bloodshed and fallen economies, so that everyone can hear the statements that President Trump makes without just taking them at face value.
That was beautifully stated, better than I ever could have said it. Thanks. I really appreciate it. So juror three. Juror three here.
I don't have anyone in the chat.
Is it me?
Or Dom, are you juror three?
Yeah, I think so.
It's
Yeah, I pretty much agree 100%. And honestly, the parallels are kind of scary.
Yeah.
The identifying an outgroup and blaming all the problems on them, trying to root out government corruption, where they're some of the main like beneficiaries of government spending. It just seems so obvious to me. I don't see how everybody doesn't realize it.
Yeah, I agree with that. This the so this is good. So juror four, here.
I don't see one. No, nothing in the chat indicating a juror for.
Okay, juror five.
Yes, I am present. I did hop into the meeting like a minute late, so I just want to know, have you already asked for our participant codes
No,
before I
I'm
give
not
my
doing
verdict?
that. So so one of the things I said first thing was the plaintiff gets to run the trials any way they want, and the moderator actually is so if you've got a moderator, they can kind of keep track. And so what I asked for is really not. Um, I have everybody give a 20-second or 30-second summary, which is what you've been doing, and then I mark that, and I don't need the participant codes for that. So
Okay, no problem.
I just don't use them. And maybe one of these days I will convince other people that we don't need participant codes too. But for now, for some plaintiffs who want to run the trials a different way, participant codes are good.
Okay, no problem. Firstly, what I would like to say is that for the most part, I do agree. It's just I don't pay too much attention about the US and what really happens along the lines of its politics. I've heard a lot of Trump supporters, them saying good things about him. I've also heard a lot of bad things about him. Well, mostly bad things. And I think I'm not sure that is fully ruling as like a dictator, but I do feel like he's pushing the boundaries of what entails what a democracy is. I feel like he's pushing the boundaries of what we actually have as a structure, and I feel like he's pushing the boundaries to a certain level where it's alarming experts. So, yeah, I just think that it's edging on a dictatorship at this point. And I think that yeah, these leaders are, but it's a tough world out here. Our leaders are the ones deceiving us as well. So yeah.
So one of the things that some of the people on the call know is I was raised in real estate in Atlanta, Georgia, and I knew, actually still know, two or three Trump-like people who are similarly complete crooks in Atlanta and successful crooks, and they live in Buckhead. So, um, but so I've known what Trump was since I first saw him in the '80s. When I would first see him, he was like a couple of friends of mine uh, who were my age, who were Trump's. Okay, and I'm approximately Trump's age, and so so I have always been surprised that people didn't understand what he was. It's just like never vote for a guy like that. Okay, just, huh? Okay, and I'm still as confused as I always have been. But anyway, so I grew up and I can name the names of the people that are like Trump down there, but I won't in a public space. Okay, so juror six.
Yes, I'm here. To just give a summary, I would say that yes, I do agree with the claim that dictators often use similar strategies to rise to power. I do feel that is true. However, I would say that in Trump's case, I kind of feel like his intentions are not really aligned with becoming a dictator. I feel like, to a certain extent, I would say from an outsider's point of view, that to me it seems like he only wants what's best for mainly just American people. It's like it's only just always about America and American people from an outsider's point of view.
That's interesting because I think he only cares about himself, and he absolutely doesn't care about the American people. So you and I disagree on that. This is an interesting, but um, I really honestly believe he's never cared about anybody but himself, period. And but this is really interesting. So you're staying, and I can't say you're wrong. I can just say what I think. Okay, so juror 7.
I don't have anything verbal or in chat.
Okay, juror 8.
Hi there. What I would basically like to say is I'm not really one who dabbles with politics, so I didn't really understand the case as I picture you probably saw in the verdicts. But I think in my last verdict, I did mention that at the end I would probably understand more about what the case entitles, and I did to some sort of extent. But I've watched The Dictator before, but I think that was the parody version, the 2012 version. I'm not sure about this one. I think it's an Arabian guy or something, who was a dictator or something like that. But
No,
yeah,
this is the original 1940
no,
version.
yeah, no, I saw it's the original version. I'm talking about the parody version, the
Oh,
one
the
I've
parody
watched.
version. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The parody
So
is different. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's basically all I wanted to share. But it is an interesting case. Was a bit intrigued by the whole historical facts about the entire case.
Yeah. So this sounds good. So are there any other comments on this? So I actually debated making a trial out of this case, and then I said, you know, to hear the dictator's speech and to see the context of it and to see how similar it is to what's going on in the country around Trump is pretty amazing. So another little historical note on Hitler is most people, I don't know if you know, but Hitler had originally run for government, but he was I can't remember the exact situation, but he was arrested by the in he was this was the Weimar Republic in Germany. He was arrested. He was put in prison for 6 months for what he did when he was trying to win the election, and that's when he wrote Mein Kampf. And I was actually talking with somebody yesterday who's worked for uh, the the think tanks in the U.S. government for 30 or 40 years, and he um, uh, basically said that in the 30s, when they heard that Chaplin was coming back, which was in the late 30s, the right wingers told everybody that Chaplin was a communist, and they tried to keep people from watching his movie.
Oh.
and so that was a little thing that he added. So there's something wrong with my screen right now. There it goes.
It's still showing that you're sharing it.
Okay. so that was an interesting thing. And then he also said that now I can't remember what it was. He was now I can't remember what he said. Something that was very, very interesting about people's gullibility. So what this guy did for a living was he planned misinformation and disinformation campaigns on other countries. This guy that I was talking with yesterday spent his career doing that. And he said that this movie was very good because he said it basically tells you how to do that. But he says that people fooling people like this is really easy. And he says if you just decide to do it, you can do it. And this has been sort of perfected by Russia and the United States for years. And and it was perfected in Germany and so forth. It goes back many, many years. So what Plato originally said was, he said that democracies always fail into oligarchies, and then the oligarchies always fail into dictatorships. And he says what Plato said was no democracy has in the history of 2,000 years ago, 2,100 years ago, 2,500 or whatever it was for Plato. He said the democracies don't live forever. And the way they always fail is an oligarchy takes over, and then one man rises to lead the oligarchy, and that man then becomes the dictator, and at that point the democracy is dead. And it takes I know what this guy yesterday said to me. He said then the only way back from the dictatorship back to democracy is horrible tragedy. In other words, and in the case of this movie of Chaplin, World War II. Chaplin couldn't stop it. He tried to stop it. He couldn't stop it. You had to have World War II first, and then the people understood what was going on and realized that the democracy was gone, and they had to get it back. Then you can get it back then, but without that disaster, what my friend said, without that disaster, the democracy does not come back. Once it's in a dictatorship, the democracy doesn't come back until there's some kind of great disaster, which kind of was sobering to be said by the person who was saying it yesterday. So that was sort of another interesting thing. Anyway, that's about it. So we'll have another trial next week, and hopefully it'll be a more pleasant trial. But if it's going to be on my articles, I will always be trying the truth. Okay.
Yeah.
I try to say the truth. Okay. So we'll see y'all next week.
All right. Bye, Bob.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you guys.